and what we will build on.
Starmer, a pledge is not an indication. A pledge is a word, is your word. It's a pledge, because you're hiding behind the process.
No, the Labour Party
Why
said...
don't you do what the other candidates do and tell... Don't Labour members have a right, as they decide whether to vote for you or not, they want to know where your money's coming from?
I've been asked that many times. I've said it's coming from trade unions, from crowdfunding, from individual donations.
Who's your biggest donor?
It's coming from those three. One of my biggest donors was put up on the website, I think, yesterday.
Right, that's one of the lawyer.
Yeah.
That's the lawyer.
You have been given the opportunity to visit one place where the walls can talk. Interesting. Where would you go and what would you hope to find out? So, I know what you mean. So, the walls have got all the secrets of all the things that have ever happened there. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Well, I think most people think of the White House or 10 Downing Street or the Vatican. Which would be, I'm not really interested in politics and when people plan to do things because they're sort of documented. And I know there's sort of secrets and stuff, but I'm more interested in like sort of scientific discovery and things like that, really. Like, I don't know, Isaac Newton's laboratory. What was he doing? What was he? I assume the walls can know what they were thinking as well. Like, it's not just a wall, and they would just see it, and he just goes, yeah, and what? I don't know what he was doing. I assume these walls are intelligent, they took it all in. They've remembered, they can tell me everything. Probably something like that, like Einstein's study, you know, like what? Sure, he was a genius. He did relativity, but when oh God, oh, pure shite, pure bollocks. Thanks, Joey, for your question. Nice cat asked a nice question like that. It signs out Einstein.
Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn led Labour to a disastrous defeat, the worst for 85 years. Yet you won't utter a word of criticism against him. Why can't you be honest and tell us what you really think of how he led the Labour Party?
Well, it was a devastating defeat. You're absolutely right about that. The worst for a very long time.
85 years.
We've actually lost 4 in a row, and therefore, whilst we're analysing why we lost that election, we need to bear in mind we've lost 4 in a row.
But this is the one you really lost.
Oh, no, we really did. And I went out with 44 campaigning teams, and that discussion was there in every team, in every constituency.
So why not a word of criticism of the man who led you to that defeat?
Well, the things that came up on the doors of 44 constituencies were, number one, the leadership. Absolutely. Secondly, the Brexit position, that came up differently in different areas. What was said in the Midlands was different to what was said in Scotland. The overload of the manifesto, people felt there was too much in it. And I'm sad to say, in a number of areas, anti-Semitism came up. So the leadership did come up.
Number one, you say. But you won't criticise it.
Well, it's not I won't criticise him. Jeremy...
But you haven't.
Well, Jeremy is stepping down. We're now asking the question who should be the next leader of the Labour Party. And I'm trying to answer that question. And that requires us to define what the task is, which is huge, a massive challenge.
Which we're going to talk about.
And to ask the members, put myself before the members, to win that competition.
Charlie Faulkner, fellow Labour lawyer, he's known you for years.
I know Charlie very well, yeah.
Yeah, he says, and he knows you very well, and he says the truth is you were, quote, appalled by the awfulness of the Corbyn leadership. Is he right?
Well, look, I was in the shadow cabinet and I challenged in the shadow cabinet where I thought I should challenge. I don't speak outside the shadow cabinet.
Were you appalled by the awfulness of Mr. Corbyn?
We obviously got it very wrong in that general election. Jeremy has stepped down, and we're now looking for the next leader of the Labour Party.
Well, let me tell you what a lot of people, because you're reluctant to say what Charlie Faulkner thinks you think, and that is you're reluctant because a large part of the Labour membership still worships Jeremy Corbyn. You're frightened to say anything critical because it will cost you votes in this election. That's the real truth. It's a calculation.
It's not the truth. I served Jeremy for 3.5 years in his shadow cabinet. I worked well with him. He actually led us through some really difficult times. I had disputes with Jeremy, things I didn't agree with him on, and we either had it out around the shadow cabinet table, or on occasion I went to his constituency office and we had a discussion there. So I know what I agreed with Jeremy, but the question now is not what's the criticism of Jeremy, it's who's the best leader to take us from where we are now to where we need to go. And I've been running a very... Now, to just answer your point, I've been running a very positive campaign, actually, not just not criticising Jeremy, but not criticising the other candidates, because I profoundly believe that if our party can't pull together and unify, then we're going to carry on losing. And therefore, what I want is to unify the party so that we can be in a position to move forward.
And we'll look
I
at
don't
the
think sort of
unity
thrashing around and blaming X, Y, and Z.
But if you have nothing bad to say about, and I would suggest to you, you cannot plan the future without understanding the past. And if you have nothing bad to say about Mr. Corbyn's leadership now, why did you take part in the attempt to topple him as leader in 2016?
Well, in the immediate aftermath of the referendum, I thought we needed a change, and I set out my reasons for it. We then had a leadership election. Jeremy won it convincingly. I accepted the members had put him in as leader, and I then served him for the next 3.5 years.
You said it was simply untenable to suggest that we can offer an effective opposition without a change of leader. Untenable.
But we then went through a process, agonising process over the summer of 2016. Jeremy won convincingly, and I took the decision that in those circumstances, the right thing to do was to serve in the shadow cabinet, particularly on a brief such as the Brexit brief, which was so important. I think that was the right thing to do. I then...
Well, maybe you were right, because it did turn out to be untenable. You got thumped in the election with Mr. Corbyn.
You are a government agent for MI6, transmitting subliminal messages on your shows to the people of the world. The message is your choice. What message do you send out? So I can change the world without them knowing by just doing these. I've been sending out subliminal things to people who go, oh, maybe I'll become vegan. Well, things like that, right? That's a good one, obviously. Stopping animal cruelty. What are the big ones? Protecting free speech. Secularism for the world. Fairness. And equality. And that's supported by free speech. And vice versa. And animal cruelty. They're the main three for me, aren't they? Well, if I could stop animal cruelty, I'd sort of... But then there's another injustice that's equal if you can't have free speech. It all comes from that, doesn't it? I mean, if I could make the world secular, I think all the problems would be solved, really. People would they learn truth and had the right to say it, and fucking hell, that's you're a dog, Gunnar. Why are you asking me questions like that? I haven't had time to think about it. I've been given the greatest opportunity of mankind, and I don't know. But everyone has to take a picture of themselves and send it to the news and go, "This is the picture I want when I die." That's my message to the world. I think this has been particularly bollocks. I think it's been probably one of the worst ones ever, which I'm very proud of. Because I didn't think I could go lower. And that was like a challenge to me. I thought, Rick, you've hit rock bottom here. You can't get this worse. And I thought, hold my pint. And I think I've proved there's always a little bit lower to go with quality.
But the reason I ask you that is that many suspect in the Labour Party that you are the Neil Kinnock of this leadership contest, that you're running from the left on a kind of broadly Corbynista ticket, but if you win, you'll move to the right. Are they wrong?
Andrew, I am very focused on what are the challenges now in 2020, after the defeats we've been through. How do we meet those challenges and prepare a manifesto probably for 2024 that speaks to the 2020s and the 2030s? And therefore, I'm not trying to be a past Labour leader. I want to be the next Labour leader.
But 80% of Labour Party members in a poll think that you would move the party towards the centre.
Well, I've seen that poll. I have set out my case. This is how we conduct ourselves in our party, week after week, hustings after hustings in front of our members.
You're not getting your message through if they think you would move to the centre.
I am making my pitch to the members, and they will make their minds up over the next few weeks who they want to lead the Labour Party.
Why haven't you declared all the major donors who are funding your leadership campaign?
Well, at the beginning of the campaign, the Labour Party set out the rules that we should all comply with, and they briefed us on it. And they involve doing the necessary checks on any donations, and then passing it to the parliamentary authorities so that they can be published. And I'm following those rules.
But that's process.
That's not process, that's
well,
the
you're
rules.
following the process, but there's a bigger principle at stake, that Labour Party members who are being asked to vote for you should know who's bankrolling your campaign.
That is why the Labour Party set up those rules.
But you won't tell us.
The Labour Party rules say, carry out the checks, which we have to carry out, and I've got a compliance team doing that. Once you're satisfied the checks are carried out and the donations are proper in order, they go to the parliamentary authorities who put them on the parliamentary website so that everybody can see them. I've been following that procedure. That is exactly the parliamentary
But the other
rules.
candidates in this contest have published who is bankrolling their campaign. You seem to be hiding behind this process. Why won't you simply tell us tonight who are your 5 biggest donors?
Andrew, how can you say I'm hiding behind a process when it's the Labour Party process?
Because you're hiding behind the process.
No, the Labour Party
Why
said-
don't you do what the other candidates do and tell? Don't Labour members have a right, as they decide whether to vote for you or not, they want to know where your money's coming from?
I've been asked that many times. I've said it's coming from trade unions, from crowdfunding, from individual donations.
Who's your biggest donor?
It's coming from those 3. One of my biggest donors was put up on the website, I think, yesterday.
Right,
or
that's
the
one
day
of the lawyer.
Yes.
That's the law. But who are your 5 biggest donors?
Well,
you haven't announced. You've only announced about £125,000 worth of donations. This campaign costs a lot more than that. Doesn't transparency just demand? I mean, it's causing you a problem. Len McCluskey, the union leader, he said that you are having secret financiers sitting in the shadows. And you laugh. I understand that. You could solve that tonight by saying, when I leave here, everybody who's bankrolled my campaign, I will make public.
Well, of course, Andrew.
But you're not going to do that.
Andrew, please hear me out. I've got a compliance team in place who are checking that every donation is in accordance with the rules. Once they've done that, they pass it to the parliamentary authorities for them to publish it. So 2 lots have gone up. Another lot is again with the parliamentary authorities as of today. I'm following the rules so that everything can be published.
So just to be clear, who's giving you £100,000?
This line of attack on me that I'm following the rules, which the Labour Party at the beginning of the exercise said, right, how was...
Okay, who's giving you more than 100,000?
The Labour Party at the beginning of the exercise said, these are the rules as to what you've got to check.
Who's giving you more than £100,000?
These are the rules as to publication. Nobody's given me more than 100,000. That biggest donation went up yesterday or the day before.
And how much is that?
Was of 100,000.
100,000?
Yes.
So that's your biggest?
Yes.
All right.
And what we will build on.
Starmer, a pledge is not an indication. A pledge is a word, is your word. It's a pledge.
I hope you enjoyed that. Alexa, play David Brent, Life on the Road.